Kakadosh Boker or Shavua Tov Masechet Batra Daf Yomi. This is Daf Kuf Daled Amud Aleph 141. We're just starting on the Gemara on 103b. The Gemara 103b says Ibailu. So we're going to ask the following question: Bet Kur Stama. One of us, a person comes and he just says, "I'm selling you a bet kur." What's salacha? When I come and I say I'm going to sell you an acre, does that mean Stama is mamash an acre or more or less? That's the question. So Tashema bet kur farani mochelecha mida bechevel. Only if you said mida bechevel. Right? 104a on the top, right? Kufdala the mudala for lemana. So pachok kol shu yinake, yuter kol shu yazir, hastama, right? Is like encha serin tedami. So to minute, only if I said mida bechevel, which is basically like by the rope, meaning like by the mamash, like by the meter stick, you understand? But if not, mashma more or less, there's no problem. Ema seifa. Let's see the seifa then. The seifa says, yeah, the seifa says v'imamar lo encha serin. If he said more or less, afilu pichet rova l'seah, even if he had less than a rova for the seah or etir rova l'seah, higio, it's going to be fine. So stama mida bechevel dami. So we have, meaning from the same mishnah, we have a problem because I can deduce from the former part of the mishnah that it's only because you said mida bechevel. But if you did not say mida bechevel, meaning I didn't say by the rope, so therefore it's more or less. But then when you come from the second part of the mishnah where it says more or less, it's mashma that only that normal is also the same thing, and it's only if you do mida bechevel that it's a problem. So you can bring a proof from Mishnah. We can bring a proof from the Mishnah. So Tashma, let's bring another proof then. It says in a Braita, bet kur farani mochelecha, bet kur. If he's going to say a bet kur or like a bet kur, whether it's going to be more or less, hen cheser afilu bicharov l'sah or tir l'sah, higio alma. So he comes here. Stama is hen cheser yeter. It comes out that even if you just said stam, I'm going to sell you a bet food, bet kurofar. So it's more or less. So answers the Gemara, Hatam Perushe Kamefarish. There it's explaining it. The what? It says Bet Kur Shehi Kebet Kur. What does it mean? It's a Bet Kur which is like a Bet Kur. For example, he said Hen Chesed in Yatid. So I can't bring a proof from there, but it's an explanation. I'm explaining that it's more or less. So Matkif La Ravashi asks, Im Kenev so Ani Mochelecha Lamali. Says, why does he say twice? I'm selling it to you. Bet Kur Ani Mochelecha. Kebet Kur Ani Mochelecha. If it's only explanation, so the words that I'm selling to you should only be said at the end. So he says, so you learn from here that even the stam is also more or less.
But how can you sell a piece of land?
So now the Gemara says, what is he going to give him back? Money. So he says, right? We're coming to be miyapeh, the koach of the mocher, of the seller. So we're only going to say that you're going to give the more strength to the seller, and we're not going to say it to the purchaser. Why not? That Tanya, usually we learned, right? That what? That it says pichet shiva kabinu mechza lekur. All shitish higio. Right? You tell me kind of it's going to be more than that. We force the seller to sell and the purchaser to purchase. So what's going on? So he says over there, hatam over there, kegon dahava yakira meikara vezal hashta. There was expensive. And then it became cheap. They were going to tell him, if you gave him land, you have to give him the same price now. That means even though it went up or whatever it is, you have to give him the same thing now. Says the Gemara. Yeah, he says, Vatanya, we learned in the Braita, Keshu notenlo keshar shelakach mimeno. Says when you're giving it to him, you're giving him according to the shar, right, that he took from him. So says the Gemara, hatam kegon dava zula meikar vekara lahashta. He says over there was the opposite. It was zol at the beginning, right? And it was now it's expensive. Meaning basically this entire concept is when it fluctuates prices. And now since it's fluctuating prices, now all of a sudden, right, now you have the questions because now, 1 second, how do you go by? Do you go like the original price? Do you go the price right now? So therefore, because of that, that's why we keep on changing, right? Because now it actually does make a difference how you're going to actually give it to him. Okay? Then the two dots said, Shim Shier Basadeh Betisha Kabin. Amar Ravuna says, Tisha Kabin Shamru, the Tisha Kabin that they said, Afilu Bibikya Gedula. It's talking about even in a big, huge valley. Rav Nachman says, no, we're talking about Shiva Kavinu Mechza for every single kul. Okay, so according to the first Shita, that means even it's always going to be, even on Bibikya Gedula, you only have Tisha Kabin. That means even if it's going to be a big acre, you have 9 kabin, 9 kavs, right? Whatever it is. Again, remember, these are all measurements. Okay, so he says, but Rav Nachman comes and he says, no, it's 7.5 kavs for every kul. So that means we're not talking, let's say you've got 5 acres. Do you only have the 9 kabin? Or do you have 7.5 kav for every kur. So now you have five kurs. So now you have 7.5 times. So you're gonna have whatever 35, whatever it is, right? So says the Gemara Kuvdala Domubet 104b. Now we said if it's going to be more than the tisha kabin, it goes back. So he says, if now there's going to be leftovers, we're not talking about that he actually sold, right? Which means he sold them 2 kurs, right? And now 2 kurs of karka, if it's going to be 9 kabin, that's a proof that it's 9 kabin. It's not going to be that it's 7.5 for every kur. So it says, no, you only sold them 1 kur. If you only sold them 1 kur, that's a machloket. Do you have 9.5 or the 9 or the 7.5? Uvegina, you have bet chetzi kav. Lav de zabin setayim. You're not talking about you sold them satayim. He says no, you only sold them 1 seah. And like Rabbi Akiva, the betrova, we're not talking about the 1 seah. He says no, again half of a seah. Meaning we keep on asking and proving that it was only 1. So we're not talking about that you get 1 for every single measurement for every property. But it's 1 because you only sold 1, so that's it. So by Ravashi comes and he asks, Sadeh benasid gina. What happens right now if you sold it as a sadeh, and all of a sudden it was made into a gina, or gina, and then it became a sadeh? What's halacha? Do we go according to the extra, according to the sadeh, meaning according to the time of the sale, or do we go according to right now what it is? Meaning there's a difference between a gina and a sadeh. Sadeh is a field. The gina is like a garden, so there's going to be a difference. I sold it to you at the beginning. I thought I was selling you a field, but then afterwards, I changed the designation. I changed the zoning. Now it's a garden. It's not a field, or vice versa. Hafuch, right? Right? Take it. You don't have an answer. Okay. So Tana, we learned in a Braita. If it was close to the sadeh, afilu kolshu, even if it's going to be close to it a little bit, machzilo takarka, you give him back the karka. So by Ravashi comes and he asks, bor. What is it going to be if the board is going to be mafsik, or a matamayim is going to be mafsik, or derech harvim is going to be mafsik, richvat dikla is going to be mafsik? What's the halacha in such a case? Meaning, if there's going to be mafsik between one sadeh and another sadeh, what's the halacha now? Do you give it back to him or not? So it says the Gemara again, teku. We don't have an answer. So haya pasek be'emtza. So achshav ma, tafsilu it. You're going to give it back to him, right? You have a pet, you have a reshut rabim, a mata hamayim, irrigation canal. Richbat dikla, dekalim, right? That they were in a whole bunch of palm trees. So what's going to happen now? So again, teku. What are we talking about? So it says the Gemara, right? Give back everything. And we continue with the Mishnah tomorrow.